If you are joining me for the first time, please remember to click subscription button and hit that notification bell to be the first person to receive the video that will be produced by Davi-tech-media. Davi-tech-media, updating you. Davi-tech-media, subscribe to Davi-tech-media.
Okay, very quickly, I just wanted to deal with something. I'll be leaving the office a few minutes from now. I watched a video clip of Chishimba Kambwili, whom all of you know. This is election season. And during the elections, not just here, but elections that are held all across the world, oftentimes people commit multiplied gaffes. Do you know what a gaffe is? A gaffe is a mistake, a blunder. Sometimes people say things on the campaign trail because they're caught up in the frenzy of the moment. You know, it's very intoxicating for those of you that have been through it. When you're standing in front of a crowd, especially at a political rally, and you are addressing 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people that essentially agree with what you're talking about. I mean, ideally, people address crowds that they have the same mind with. In other words, you're addressing your supporters. Very rarely will a politician stand in front of a hostile crowd. It does happen, but usually on the campaign trail, when you're addressing a group of people, it's essentially your supporters. So they think the way you think, okay? They regurgitate what you regurgitate. And it's only an opportunity for you to reinforce, to cement what they already believe. You just add the bells and whistles to it. And in the process of adding bells and whistles, many politicians fall into this trap where they commit gaffes. Today was one of those moments. If you have watched this video clip of Honorable Chishimba Kambwili in Chile addressing a group of people, and he uses a word very offensive. And if you don't know the pathos of that word, if you don't know what it means, if you don't know exactly what it conveys, you may dismiss it as an inconsequential word. But really, truly speaking, upon close examination of that word, you will realize very quickly that the word Makunkutu is very offensive. Makunkutu, for those of you that do not know, in my language, Muchibemba, atuishukumienu kumwafumoko, fuebo kumansa, Muchibemba ifotutila. Makunkutu is a person that has his fingers cut off. His hand is incomplete. He doesn't have full use of his fingers or his hands. In many cases also, it could mean someone that doesn't have his toes in complete form. Either the toes have been chopped off or they're much shorter than what they're supposed to be, and consequently, they are unable to perform things that you and I would easily perform. In other words, Makunkutu teti emie phone ifinde emie phone would not be able to hold a phone in the manner in which I'm holding this phone, by virtue of the fact that his fingers are incomplete, are halfway, are less than. In my language, we call that Makunkutu. Now, Makunkutu is not a term of endearment. It's not. You know, in the developing world, they've changed it now. It's important to be politically correct. You can no longer say or refer to people that are differently abled as disabled. You can't say that anymore. In the same way, and this is something I've had to learn recently, in the same way you cannot call someone an albino or an albino. You refer to them as a person with, what's the word? Tell me. Albinism? Albinoism, I think it is. A person with albinoism. Okay? Now, if you don't have a sense of empathy, do you know what empathy is? Let me throw it up here for you, because some of you don't have this. Okay? And every so often, I don't have it. Sorry to say that. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. When you use the word Makunkutu, when you refer to someone as Uriani Makunkutu, when they are clearly not differently abled, or they are clearly not, forgive the term, disabled, and you refer to them as Makunkutu, that's a gaffe. That's a political gaffe that needs to be called out. Now, all of you know, and I say this every time I come up here, when I talk about Chishimba Kambwili. Kambwili is someone that I consider a friend. I do. And I'll be honest with you. I like the guy. I do. I disagree with many of his sentiments. I disagree with his tribal rhetoric. I strongly disagree, and every single time I come up here and I make reference to him, I have made that abundantly clear, consistently so, that anytime he uses this tribal rhetoric, he loses me. But aside from that, he's someone that I get along with. I do. Every time I see him, he's so nice to me, and I'm nice to him, and we're cordial, and but every so often, politicians sometimes, I tell you, politicians, sometimes I look at politicians and I go, really? You're going to stand up there and say that? Really? So his latest gaffe is his use of the phrase, of the word Makunkutu. Because we all know that the man that he's referring to is clearly not differently abled. Is clearly not disabled, forgive the term, but I have to say that so that I provide you with some context. The man that he's referring to in the video clip is not differently abled. So why use a word that inadequately describes your political opponent? You only use those words to discredit and to disdain your opponent. That's wrong. Discredit your opponent on merit. In other words, if you're going to go after your opponent, talk policy, talk views. Don't refer to their physicality. Even if it's used as a reference point, even if it's used as an analogy. Come on, be sensitive. Now, here's the problem with politicians. Many politicians in Zambia feel that they can say whatever the heck they want because, after all, the crowd, the members in the crowd, they're dumber than a box of hammers. They're so dumb, they're not going to approach this rally with any type of analytical skills. We're just going to stand in front of them and spew all this stuff and just say whatever the heck we want. This crowd is as dumb as a box of hammers. They don't care. That's the approach many politicians have. And it shouldn't be that way. Politicians should be held accountable for what they say on the campaign trail. We've seen many of them. The man in question himself, the man that Mr. Kambwili is referring to, he's made many gaffes on his campaign trails. And we've called those out. I remember I did a show not too long ago when the leader of the Reds, he went on a campaign trail and he used an expletive. He used profanity. He turned the air blue with profanity. And I called him out. I said, you know what? Leaders should be held to a higher standard. We have called him out before because he's made several gaffes on his campaign trail where he turned the air blue with profanity. He used some explosive expletives while on the campaign trail. And I remember coming to you and saying political leaders should be held to a higher standard. You cannot have a president of a political party that talks like a bus conductor. I totally disagree with that. And so here it is, you have Chishimba Kambwili using this word Makunkutu, which really is a derogatory. He used it in a derogatory word in an attempt to describe his political opponent, when really his political opponent is not disabled, is not differently abled. It was used as a diss. It was used as a way of describing in derogatory terms his opponent. Now, here's the thing about empathy, and this is what you must understand. My question is this: the people that are disabled, the people that have physical challenges, people that don't have any use of their hands, or they don't have fully formed fingers, people that are physically disabled, people that are referred to as Makunkutu, how would they feel? And this is where the word empathy comes in. How would they feel when they hear that word being used on someone that clearly does not have any physical challenges? You're using that word in a derogatory way to describe your political opponent, to disdain him. And I think that's wrong. If you're going to do politicians, guys, Mwewa politics, just do politics. Don't name call. Makunkutu is a word, a phrase that should not be used in that context because you're using it as a diss. And if you had any form of empathy in you, you wouldn't use it. But you use it because you think that no one is going to take you to task. In my view, balufianya ba Kambwili, balufianya ba chitalufianix. But at this stage of the game, and this is the sad thing about politics, is that this close to the election, nobody's going to start making any apologies because they risk losing something. I mean, the stakes are so high right now that nobody's willing to step up to the plate and say, you know what, I was wrong. I shouldn't have said that. You think these politicians think like that? They don't. Politicians, they only have one thing on their minds: victory. The end justifies the means. That's how they think. And it's wrong. It shouldn't be that way. So in my view, and lastly, let me just say, what's up with that crowd? I thought ECZ had done away with all this. So my encouragement to all the political parties is this: just go out there and do rallies, because it's clear everybody else is doing rallies. The Electoral Commission of Zambia has guided on this issue. The Electoral Commission of Zambia has been emphatic on this issue, but it's clear nobody is listening. Why? Because what? We've got 15 more days before the election. That's less than That's less than a month. So nobody cares now. Nobody cares. Even if the wheels fall off the wagon, nobody's going to care. And it's sad. So in a nutshell, Kambwili erred. He made a mistake when he used that word, Makunkutu. Wrong. What do you guys think? Tell me what you think. Yeah. Piri says, surely that was an inappropriate description used. Yes, yes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're all doing it. All of them. They all do it. Yes, true. They all do it. So basically what I'm saying is that just let everybody do rallies, because nobody cares about the directive by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. Everybody's doing it. The leader of the Reds had a big Solwezi gathering. Chishimba Kambwili has just had a big one. Everybody's doing it. So what's the point of giving guidelines and directives that nobody is following clearly? So scratch that. Forget all this, imposing rules and guidelines. Nobody's following those. Okay. Yeah. Okay. God bless, guys. Have a good one. Peace. And sorry for my camera. See there, I've got one of these. See, this is what I've got the tripod, and I put my phone on there, and then the battery goes dead. Can you believe it? Bye.
Thank you very much for tuning in at Davi-tech-media. Remember, Davi-tech-media is the media that shares news, trending videos, political news, gospel music, as well as entertainment. Please don't forget to click that subscription button and that notification bell to be the very first person to receive the video that will be produced and posted by Davi-tech-media. Davi-tech-media, updating you.